Welcome back to another episode of the Ball and Buds podcast. We have one of our favorite buds and an all-star in his own podcast, which is called Unfair Sports, where they take a pensive approach to the sports conversation. And y'all better check that out because that is a great podcast. My brother, Jay from Unfair Sports, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Thanks for having me again, Omar. There's a lot going on in sports to always talk about.
The big stories I really wanted to get into the NBA. It is heating up. We all know come springtime is when the players actually start to care and they actually start to play. And, after the All-Star break, we get people feeling like it's playoff atmosphere ball. So we recently just had the trade deadline. Kyrie finally forced his way out after years. Spurring the breakup of what was supposed to be the biggest super team ever, which is now the biggest flop ever, in my opinion. My friend, what are your thoughts on the trade deadline? What are your thoughts on Kyrie? What are your thoughts on KD going to Phoenix?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of movement in the NBA, and I'm going to give them some props for this. Putting the trade deadline during Super Bowl week was genius. And I hope they do this every year because it does break up the conversations around the Super Bowl. And as someone that does podcasting and working in the media itself, it's hard pressed to find new topics to talk about around the Super Bowl for 2 weeks. It gets tough. The bigger thing you're looking at is injuries and quarterback comparisons, and that's really it. For them, they just added a great conversation piece in the middle of everything, especially because of Super Bowl week itself. That's when things get a little boring, in my personal opinion, because you can only say so much about teams. Now, having the trade deadline in between there, it's nonstop action for like 4 or 5 days, and so the Kyrie piece and the big three that they had there at Brooklyn was fascinating because it's definitely the worst experiment ever created. It's the worst big three ever. It was no success. James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant played for 16 games together, and they were 13-3. So of course they were winning. But what the problem you got out of that is that there was no long-term success. Completely bad. From there, from that portion of it, you look at how
they only played 16 games together.
Those 16 games, man. James recognized how much of a sinking ship that was too, just like he recognized at Houston. And I get everybody's not very happy. A lot of people are, beef with James Harden and his decision to want to leave Brooklyn. He saw the writing on the wall. He doesn't want to be on a team that's tanking. He don't want to see a team that's got a lot of drama too, and especially with the Kyrie piece and him not wanting to play. But I digress off of James. Let's dive into the Kyrie trade. I'm trying to figure out why Brooklyn didn't do this over the summer. Like, Kevin wanted to go. Y'all knew y'all weren't going to pay Kyrie. Y'all should have went ahead full deep in on the tank back in the summertime and just call it a day. And Bomani Jones mentioned this on a few shows over the summer and as the season came up, especially after the tweet about the video on Amazon that Kyrie put on his Twitter account. He wasn't promoting, but he decided to retweet it so that all his millions of followers can go check it out. That he didn't expect him to play another game. He thought that he was going to get cut, and he didn't think that, people want to pick him up and deal with that. And he was wrong. Kyrie didn't end up playing. But if you look at the trade that Kyrie went to Dallas, they basically gave him away. Rudy Gobert got 4 first-round picks. You don't think Kyrie's worth that? Probably one of the greatest point guard with handles. Dude that can get a bucket anytime he wants to. Yeah, you don't just give him away for a first years down the line in a few seconds. You get a couple of first out of him, and either nobody wanted to pay it, or they were like, "Man, we gotta get rid of this dude. Somebody take him off our hands." That to me was more. That was more of an indictment of how poor the Nets handled the situation than anything. Now, as you're watching Dallas and Brooklyn, Dallas and the Kyrie and the Luka Doncic play together go right now, it's kind of fascinating watching them trying to figure out who's going to take the game-winning shot. That last game when they did that was, it was brutal. And it's a situation where I just think that it's going to take some adjustment time, but I don't think it's going to be successful. And it's no shade to anybody there. It's more so that if you've noticed, Kyrie just doesn't last anywhere. It wasn't in his mind. It wasn't him in Cleveland. He went out of LeBron's shadow. It wasn't him in Boston. I have no clue what happened there. And then now it wasn't him in Brooklyn. But if you go through it, there's a common denominator in all three of those situations. So we'll see what it looks like in Dallas. But Dallas taking a flyer on him for as cheap as it was, definitely worth it. Now, Phoenix and Kevin Durant, you're going to have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker as your wings with a point guard that knows how to distribute and can play very well without both of them on the court. Yeah, Phoenix might be doing something. Now, the only problem I have with Phoenix is they're getting old. Chris Paul's old. He can't stay healthy. We've synced this his entire career. I mean, we have synced this. KD is coming off another injury. He hasn't played more than 50 games in a season in the last 3 years since that Achilles injury happened. So I'm curious to see, is Kevin going to be healthy? Is Chris Paul going to be healthy? And that will work. And I think Devin Booker's a dude that has no problem with stepping back, especially when you have a talent like Kevin Durant on the team. He's going to be like, you know what? I'll let Kevin do his thing. We'll make it happen. And so I think Devin is going to be very receptive of it. The question is going to be is what everything around them is going to look like. And I'm not really concerned about them defensively like everybody else is. Once you get to half-court basketball, things really change up. And I think that they'll be able to do enough defensively to win games. I'm curious to health. That's the only question I have. And honestly, that was the only question I had with Brooklyn. And guess what happened? They couldn't stay healthy past the first round any season together. So I kind of can predict this stuff, especially if you've been experienced in watching sports your entire life. You recognize that attrition is one of the key factors.
Yep.
We got guys that don't handle attrition very well. So
repurposing them for our new YouTube channel, the Ball and Buds channel. So go ahead and check that out as well. Please go and support our man Jay at Unfair Sports. He has his podcast. Go subscribe, go rate, review, gift those 5 stars, as he likes to say. And as well, go hit that YouTube channel. He has the new Sooner Network as well for any of those college football fans out there. I know I just gave away anything, but anything else you want to plug, my friend, please do.
Nah, man, I appreciate everybody, man. I appreciate you having me on, Omar. Pull up at the channel. You know, we're talking just about everything, man. So we'd love to have you guys around. Appreciate the love.